Hi crafters, Raquel here with Paints and Glitter. If you're new to my channel, I welcome you, and if not, thank you so much for coming back. Today I'm introducing you to the next set in the March Madness release for Tonic Studios. This one's Delightful Sweet Treats Van, and it does have 43 dies total, so let me go ahead and walk you through what they are. Okay, so included in this set of dies, you're going to get one large die here. This is going to help you create the foundation of the little box in the shape of a van. You also have layering dies. Some of them are going to be solid, like this one. You have one for the opposite side. And then you're going to see these that have what look like stripes. So when you use both of these together, you'll be able to get the decorative panels that you can add to your little van. You also have a window for one side. Then for the other side, there is a full little door that you can cut multiple times if you want to go ahead and have different colors for the little window and the little handle. Then there's a little aperture here because this is a little van that will allow you to also add little windows so that it'll open up, and it's a little shop, of course. So for that, you can use, again, this little piece here. Then there are back doors to your little van. You'll be able to use this die here, and then you can decorate it the same way that you'll decorate your little side panels. The front of the little van is easily cut, this die here, and I'll show you in this tutorial how to use that. You also have another little window here for the front. You have this cute little piece here. This is going to create almost like a little counter, and I'll show you what I mean by that. And there's also a little awning. For that awning, you have this die set here, and this is one piece, but I really like when Tonic Studios does this because it actually cuts these all individually. So you can use those as a layer to decorate this little awning here. You also have a little guide, which is super smart, so that you know exactly where to place the little wheels for the van. Then there are other little pieces here to decorate the front. So there's the grille, the lights, the little front bumper. There are these two little tabs that will allow you to close the back doors. Then there are the wheels, so you'll see what those look like. And here is the little sign that you can place on top of your van. It has two little score marks, and the reason those are important is because those are going to allow you to place this nicely on top of the van. And the way that you'll be able to do that is that there's this solid rectangle that you will couple with this piece here. So using both of these together, what you'll do is after you cut your rectangle, you will place the second die on top, and it has two little slits. So depending on how you want to decorate your van, you can use this and then match up the little score lines in the sign, and that way you'll be able to place this right on top of the van. And there's also a way here that you can add the, I think they're called mud flaps, or I forget the word for it, for the side of the van. And there are also sentiments here that you can add to your little sign. There is ice cream, sweet treats, and coffee. Then there's a little pretzel with a shadow, two different types of ice cream. There's a little coffee cup with a shadow. You'll be seeing that in a minute. And then there's a little cupcake with a shadow as well. So a lot of different little panels. You have a lot of fun with this set. So I am going to show you what will be in this video, and then toward the end of this video I'm actually going to show you how to create a little taco. And for that I did use the Enchanted Fairy die set, so more about that in a moment. But here's what you'll be able to make with this die set. It is so adorable, super duper cute. I have made a coffee theme little van, as you can see here. I've also added a little coffee pods on the inside, because these days everyone's using a Keurig or other brand of, you know, coffee makers. We use a Keurig. But among others, of course. And then here's what I did. I created a little pull tray, okay? So this is gonna be extra on this tutorial. It's not part of the die set. I just figured it would be super fun to create that type of presentation. As you can tell, I tied it with a twine, but this was super fun to make. Then, of course, I went ahead and because I couldn't help it, I did create a taco truck. So this is the next little van that you're going to see. Now, I did not create the tutorial for this because it's essentially the same steps. What's going to be different about this one is going to be the fact that I did use little tacos, and you might be wondering how I made those. Well, stay tuned. That's going to be at the end of the tutorial for the little coffee themed van. I do hope that you enjoy it. The links for all of the March Madness items are going to be down below for both Tonic UK or Tonic US. If you want to stop by, check out what is available. Maybe you missed something in the days prior. Don't forget also to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new, so that way you don't miss tutorials like this one and upcoming releases from Tonic Studios. There's going to be so much to watch, so I do hope that you enjoy it all, and don't forget to leave me a comment. Let me know which one is your favorite. Are you team coffee or are you team taco? I mean, I'm both, so enjoy this tutorial. Okay, now that I've probably made you either hungry or thirsty, let's get down to work. So cut out a little rectangle using the dies included. Also cut out a piece that looks like that. It's going to be the front of your truck. Here is the little sign. You can use pearlescent card or specialty card as I have here. I layered both of those together using dimensional adhesive. Then there's two little tabs. Those are going to help you close these two little doors. Now you will only use one die, cut it out twice, and then make sure you fold and burnish those little tabs. Then for the little pieces that will gauge where the wheels go, you'll cut that out twice. And then lastly, this large piece here will be the foundation of your little van. You can use the aperture dies included to cut out those little openings for the door and window. Then you're going to start burnishing all of the folds. So this is why I only created one tutorial, was because I wanted to show you a little bit more of the elaborate way to create this. However, the other van, the one with the little tacos, I just layered everything on top of the foundation. And by the way, here I'm using Craft Perfect card, which is not the heaviest cardstock from Tonic Studios, although it is wonderful for all of its makes. So if you want to, you do have your choice, because for the taco truck, I did use 300 GSM as the foundation piece. And then for this one, I did use this regular card. But as you can tell, it only has one long strip there on the side to adhere, and then the rest is going to be super easy. But if you want to make it like this, go ahead and use your packaging. That's what I did. And take apart the dies, take off the foam adhesive that comes on it, and then you can apply double-sided adhesive or Nuvo adhesive only on the perimeter. I did cut this out using the die included, by the way, that creates the decorative layer. And then I finish it off with my scissors, but if you need to, you can either use that double-sided tape, you can use red line adhesive, or you can just use the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and it is strong enough. But here, I'm also going to use double-sided tape just to make this tutorial a little bit easier, and that's going to be only on the two sides of this paper that have the shape of the actual van. So you don't need this on either rectangle. Okay, so only on these two parts, and you'll see in a moment why. But first I wanted to add the front of the van. So when I folded this, of course, I got a little ahead of myself, so that's why you see the back of that not perfect, but it won't matter because I was able to fix it. So here's where you're going to adhere that little panel that will be kind of the focal point of the front of your van. So go ahead and make sure you do dry run if you're not sure as to which end goes on here first. But all you have to do is adhere it to that side And then those little tabs on the sides are going to adhere to both sides of that van shape. So here I just used Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive, and I made sure that my little tabs met the edge there. So I was very careful to make sure I burnished those little tabs, but I was sure that to make sure that I burnished it as I was applying pressure onto this paper, but I did wait until I was very, very sure that those little tabs were tacked onto that paper. So I just wanted to point out that I wanted to be super careful with this portion, and you're going to want to be careful so that you don't accidentally tear this apart by using too much pressure on the paper. So just take your time. I went back and forth both sides and made sure to adhere all of those little tabs all the way down. But because they are different angles on this, then that's why I just took my time doing that. Just holding it until I knew it was nice and dry, and then applying pressure. So it's up to you if you want to cut that panel out twice. You can cut it out first out of the smooth card, that heavier cardstock I was referring to earlier, and then cut it out again and cut away the little tabs so that you have a colorful front to this van. But having used both types of paper, I don't think there's really a wrong way to go about it. You can just use whatever you're comfortable with, and you're going to achieve some really good results. Of course, the heavier cardstock is going to yield a more sturdy band, so just bear in mind the weight of the contents, and then you can base your decision on that. So here I'm adding this longer strip to the bottom, applying pressure again, making sure that that paper is making full contact all the way down. And then once it is adhered, I did use that precision bone folder or paper creaser, as Tonic Studios calls it. And then lastly, using that needle tip nozzle for the adhesive, I was able to apply some adhesive between that front tab and the front of the van. And that was it as far as the construction. Now to add the little doors, again, it's this rectangular shape that you would have cut out twice. Of course, you can decorate it. So this is where I started adding these little panels. Now there are 2 dies that will cut out this shape here. So for instance, for the little taco van, I did cut out a solid piece in gray and then the pink piece using both dies. But in this case here, as you can tell, I didn't use the tan solid color. I only used the blue and then just layer that right on top. And then these are the little tabs that are going to help close this little door. So you will adhere these right behind that little notch. And you'll notice that once you cut out the paper, it's a fantastic little guide there. And I did use mirror cardstock, and it happens to be the holographic card from Tonic Studios. So I set that aside to dry. And in the meantime, I'm going to take off the backing to that double-sided tape I had placed there earlier, and I am going to double that up with the deluxe adhesive. And now I'm placing that little strip right on top. So you can take your time applying this also, so that way it's equidistant from the front to the back of the van, and then repeat that, of course, on the other side. Now these little strips are super fabulous because they have a little score line, and you want to pay attention to that little score line because it is what's going to dictate where you place the little wheels on this little van. So a little later you'll see that again. Now I'm going to go ahead and burnish this all nicely. And I'm going to move on to applying the little doors for the back. So on that little tab that you would have folded, you can just apply your little bead of adhesive, and this will adhere right to the sides of that opening. And you can just apply gentle pressure here, make sure that it's nicely adhered, and then repeat that on the other side. So if you're using directional paper, I would say that you really want to pay attention to which door you're applying where. If not, then you can just proceed. Now here are the decorative layers. I did use the tan brown card from Tonic Studios in the classic card, and then I use the cornflower blue as the uppermost layer. So one of them was used or cut out using a solid die that you would have seen in the introduction, and the other one was with that decorative die that's going to cut out all of those little strips. So if you like using the leftover pieces from your makes on cards, then of course you can set aside all of those little strips and go ahead and make maybe a smaller 4x4 or 3x3 card. They'll be perfect for that. Now for this side, you do have your options. If you want to, you can apply the awning to this part here where I'm adding glue on that uppermost part. You can apply the awning now, but that's up to you. It's going to depend on your comfort level as to how you construct this. If not, you can definitely just place it on top a little later. But here I'm matching this up to those apertures. Now the way that I was able to cut this all out so that it would match perfectly was that I laid the paper on my cutting mat, both that tan brown and the Arctic blue, which is the base. I then put both of the dies right on top. It was the outer kind of solid die and then also that decorative die. Then I removed the die that cut the outer edge, and because I still had the guideline as to where to cut the apertures, I was able to place that little door die that came in the set and the little window one, then remove the panel that I didn't need, and that's when I was able to cut through the paper. So if you need a better explanation of that, of course, feel free to reach out to me. I'll go ahead and send you a picture of the die placement. But here you can see how you can decorate the front. I did use holographic paper and the specialty brown card that I've been using throughout this project. So I did cut out the same die twice, and then I was able to use both of those two different colors to create that glass front. Then there is one die that will cut both of these pieces. One of them is a little bumper and the other one is that little grill. And as you can tell, I had already added the little lights. That's going to be also cut using the same die, but I'm going to change my mind in a moment. And you'll see the results of that. What I did was that I added the little circles from the wheels, but first I'm adding here the little grill that goes on the front. So of course you want to make sure that kind of matches up the placement of that little bumper. And then here I did add the 2mm wide dimensional adhesive that you can get from Tonic Studios behind those little lights. I thought it gave it a really cute finish. So that lighter blue paper, which is actually glitter card, I adhered onto the specialty card, and there you see the results. So I think that adding the darker paper behind really made a statement. So here's the little door. Now this again is completely optional. It depends on how you're making your little van. But what I did is that I cut that out of the same color as the foundation of the little van there, which was Arctic blue. Then using that paper creaser, I applied pressure, and that is actually adhered onto the acetate. So that Nuvo Deluxe adhesive is strong enough for that. Now moving on to the little wheels, I just want to let you know I did cut these out 3 times. So 2 layers are in the heavy brown craft card from Tonic Studios, and the uppermost pretty layer there is in specialty card from Tonic Studios. Then I did use the other 2 little dies included, both in holographic paper and in the cornflower blue, layered those together and added them on top with a dimensional foam adhesive. Now, this is something a little extra. This is what's going to hold your little K-cups inside of the little van. I took a piece of that sturdy brown craft card from Tonic Studios, cut a panel at 3 inches by 5 inches, and then with the score tool that you see here, and a little stylus, I just went ahead and scored this at 1/4 inches all the way around to give myself a border. I took a ruler, and on the 3-inch side, I just placed a very thin line using a pencil at the 1.5-inch mark, and then I also did it at the 2.5-inch mark on that 5-inch wide side. So all I was doing was finding the center points between those lines so that I could create two little kind of targets there, if you will, for where I'm going to place the little circle. So again, find the center point of your little panel and then draw two little X's, and then you can use a little circle die from your stash, so long as it is the same width as the bottom of the K-Cup. So depending on where you purchase yours, you're going to choose the size. Then I did add double-sided adhesive around that perimeter. And the reason for this was because I wanted to decorate that edge and also create a little bit of a buffer between this and the inside of the van so that it would have enough friction to hold this inside. So I hope that makes sense, but you can go ahead and fold these little sides and then decorate them. I used the classic card from Tonic Studios in the tan brown. That was the second color that I used on this project. And then I just kind of eyeballed this. I did cut them a little bit taller than the actual height of the paper, and that was just to give myself enough kind of room there to cut them down if I needed to. But then on the ends, what I decided to do was to fold them onto the 3-inch wide side. So I just took those little tabs that were left over and then folded it onto that double-sided adhesive, and that way it would adhere my corners for me. And I repeated that on the other side, and then I topped them off with another little strip to cover the entire 3-inch wide side. And then I just cut away the excess. So there you see, I just applied that little tab, folding it over, and then topping it off with the second little strip. So that came together very easily. And then of course I did add a little bit of Nuvo adhesive where I needed it, where those little papers overlapped, and then I cut away the excess. Okay, so there's the little tray. And now I wanted to add a little tab so that this could come in and out of the back of that van. I took a little circle that came in the set for the little wheels. I folded it in half, added adhesive to only one of those halves, and then applied that to the edge of this little tray, and then a second little circle on top. And that provided a little tab to make that easy to place inside the van once those little K-Cups were added. So again, this is completely optional. I just thought you might like it. And there are the little K-Cups. It fits perfectly. So moving along, there are the little windows that you can add to this project. So all I did was adhere them directly to the acetate window, and there are the little tabs there that will adhere. Of course, you can adhere these to the paper if you want to. Now, I did back those up with acetate as well to create a nice sturdy window. And again, all I do is use the packaging. I like to make use of all of the products that I have and recycle whenever possible, and that gave me nice little sturdy windows. And now, using the die that I had mentioned before, I went ahead and ran this through my die cutting machine right on top of this rectangle, and that gave me the little slits for the sign. And for the little taco truck, I ran the same little die in this direction. So it depends on how you want to place that, but there you see the little groove marks that cause the little cuts in the paper. Then now you see my little coffee sign that I had already decorated. I'm going to fold the little score lines here. And of course you can double this up if you wish to do so. What I did to prop it up a little bit more was to use the little embellishments that I created using the little coffee cup dies. But once you have inserted those two little legs of the sign, make sure you fold the little tabs underneath and then apply adhesive so that they adhere to the paper. And then you can cover the entire panel with more adhesive and apply this to the top. So here you see just some other little ways in which I have embellished this. These were the little pieces that you could cut out for the awning, but I decided to use them as if they were little lights. Then there's also this little rectangle. It has a little tab on one side and then a score line in the center. You can go ahead and fold all of those as mountain folds. And once you fold that, you're going to see how the little tab will adhere to the very base right underneath that little window that you've created in the van. And then I did run a little bead of adhesive on the other side of it so that it would rest right along the edge of that window. So if you've left that open without acetate, you can definitely adhere it a little bit more. But here's that cute little awning. So of course you can decorate this as you like. I did cut out those little pieces to decorate in 3 different colors. And then I'm just adding this right on top by placing adhesive on that little tab. And of course you could hide that behind the decorative panel with the little stripes. So that is really up to you on how you place that on that van. I don't think there is a wrong way to do it, but lastly, here are all the little coffee cups. Now don't forget that this also includes a little pretzel, 2 different types of ice cream, and a little cupcake. So depending on the theme, then you can go ahead and mix and match all the colors to your heart's content and create the type of van that you see fit for whichever celebration you may be having or little gift that you might make. But the other thing that I did was that I added the dimensional foam adhesive from Tonic Studios. It really helped put all of these little elements together, and it was just so much fun to create. Now here's a little tip I'm going to give you after having used this, is that right now I'm applying the little wheels. However, if you want a little bit more consistency in the placement, then go ahead and apply the little arches there that are, I think they're called mud flaps, so please forgive me if I'm calling those something that they're not, but I would adhere them first and then go ahead and apply the little wheels. So as you can see here, however, I did put those on first, just with a few little drops of adhesive. I try to make sure that they were equidistant and all the good stuff. And then I did apply that little decorative portion using that dimensional adhesive. I just thought it would look really cute. And of course, whenever you add dimensional adhesive, it just creates another level of texture on your projects. So I very much enjoy using them. And these do come in different sizes. By the way, I happen to be using the 2mm wide squares, but there's also 12mm squares that you can purchase. And then there's, I believe they're 24. And by the way, they come in black also. So if you need that for a particular project, then you can pick those up too. But here I'm adding those, and I think it makes such a difference. And the holographic paper picks up the reflection of many different colors, which is why it's a personal favorite. And then of course I do like to supplement this with a little drop of the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive just to be on the safe side, and there you see the results. I think it's so cute. So moving along here, I'm adding another little sign. All I did was that I did cut out the same sign as you saw on the top of the van, and again I cut out that pearlescent coffee colored card, but I did add some dimension on there the same way that I had done on the little wheels. And there you see the coffee sign. It's a little bit subtle, but I think it was effective. And lastly, I'm adding the rest of the little embellishments here, some of them just directly on the van, and then the others using those dimensional little adhesive squares just to add a little more interest. And to close off the back of this van, I did use some jute twine from Tonic Studios. It is the perfect size. By the way, this does come in different colors. So If you can think of all the different colors of the cardstock, then of course there's going to be a color to match from the Nuvo line over at Tonic Studios, as well as any kind of Nuvo drops. So if you're interested in having your projects match perfectly, then go ahead and take a peek. The links will be down below, but look at how cute that ended up. I was super thrilled with this project. It came together so very easily. So if you're a beginner crafter, you're just starting out with 3D crafts, I highly recommend you pick this up. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. And of course, you can use all of the dies for other makes, such as this little card. So I took a little slimline die from my stash of little dies that I have, and I went ahead and decorated the panels using the leftover little rectangles from the van. All I did was that I took the one little coffee cup and I repeated it several times onto those two little rectangles there. And then I kind of mix and match the little pieces that are meant to kind of be the little cup holder part. I forget what that's called, the sleeve. Um, and of course, I added those two little panels right onto the rectangle that I had cut out using the slimline die. And I had also added texture to that paper, so you'll see that in the photo at the end. But then I did add two more little cups to the inside portion, and I used the same colors, which were the tan brown craft cardstock and the specialty card. I went ahead and ran through my die cutting machine with the embossing a little plate that created the sentiment that says coffee. I followed that with a white gel pen, and then lastly I added some Nuvo drops in a color that I thought was very, very much like coffee beans. So I think it's a perfect card for either a male or a female, and I really do hope that you like it. And there's the result. Okay, if you've reached this part of this video, then you know you're here to learn how to make a little taco out of dies from Tonic Studios. So I only took two little dies, and this is from the Enchanted Fairy die set collection. I'll have it linked below, but it's these two here. I immediately knew that this looked so much like the rainbow box that was released from one of the kits. So I took it upon myself to create a tiny little taco to add to this gorgeous little truck. It's so cute. So all you have to do is cut that long strip one time, and then the two little side pieces twice, of course. So here I've cut it out of this buttermilk yellow card from Tonic Studios. And as you can tell, one of them is already drawn on, and the other one, I'll show you how I did that. I just took a micron pen. I love these very thin tip pens. They come with different size nibs, but to make it easy, just grab a black pen and then draw a little line around the outside edge here. Now, don't be careful about drawing a straight line because this is just for texture. So I'm purposely kind of being shaky about it, and then adding maybe a few little dots. Of course, this is to emulate a tortilla, and if you've ever seen a tortilla, then you know that they have the little speckles of the corn. So I also took a Jelly Roll pen in white, and this was to highlight what I just did. Now, this is not a necessary step, but I'm just that person. I like to do it all. So make the highlight and the detail. Okay, simple. I just followed along the same edge toward the interior part of that shape. And then if you want a little more toasty taco, go for, more color on that if you want. But then all I did was I helped myself to a little strip of green card, and I do not recall the name of this green, but just a dark green cardstock from the Craft Perfect collection. Now this happens to be about 1/2 inch wide, perfect size, and then just let's see, this is going to be about just under 3 3/4 inches long. So I happen to have these scissors. You don't have to use something like this, but it just makes life easier, so I'm going to avail myself of these. And these cut multiple little cuts into the paper. So that's all I did. Now, I happen to have these from years and years ago, and I knew that this was something that was going to come in handy in crafting, and so I've had it in my stash. They're made by Martha Stewart, Don't pay full price. You can get these in garage sales. That's how I end up with tools like that as well. So the other thing that I did was that I took my regular Nuvo scissors, okay? And what I did here is that I cut in a little bit more, okay? So we're going for really fine little strips. And so that's why I used those bigger ones, but was because it was going to cut down on the time to cut all these little slits into this paper. Now I'm purposely not cutting all the way down to the bottom, okay? So if you miss a spot, don't worry about it, because this is, again, meant to be whimsical and fun. It's just a little something extra that you can add so that it looks like little pieces of shredded lettuce coming out of that taco. So of course, if this is not something that you put on your tacos, then you don't have to add it. But I just thought it would be a lot of fun. And of course, the contrast of that green and yellow really make it pop. And who doesn't love those colors together, okay? So there, you have it. Now, if this is giving you some ideas, of course, add it to your truck. If it's something that's inspired you to create maybe a different type of truck, then by all means, let me know if you're going to use it. So the next step that I did was to kind of place this on top and gauge the height of the lettuce, if you will, but I didn't use any scientific method. I just went ahead and kind of measured the length of that. I cut off a piece. I added adhesive, add a little bit of adhesive on that green piece of paper, and then lay that little portion of the taco right on top. Make sure you can see the green there. And then you can definitely cut down the sides so that it kind of takes a little bit of the shape of that arch. So you can cut it down as you like. And another thing you can do is cut little V shapes into it. And again, this is just all completely optional. It's just something that I find visually appealing. Just to cut little V shapes right into that. Okay, so this is what I did. You can repeat that on the other side, and of course you can fray that as much as you like to give it more movement there. Now while those are drying, what I did is that I took a few markers here. Now I wanted to continue kind of the same look, so I did take a Nuvo marker, and this is one of the older ones, but the color still exists. It's Bamboo Leaf, and it's 413. And I just aimed at this portion of this little die cut here where the little tabs are, okay, because that will be visible. And then kind of aiming toward those semicircular tabs, I just drew a line. Okay, you can do that as dark or as light as you like, just like that. Then in the center, I went ahead with number 464, which is coconut shell. This is, I guess, the beef taco. So I drew a line there in the middle. Super easy. This would be a fun project to make with kids, by the way. Then lastly, I added tomato. So I went in with number 453, and this is just a nice red. And then I did the same thing on the opposite side here. Okay, just like that. And if you have a darker red, by all means, you can use it. If you want to use strawberry jam, number 379, that'll be the perfect color. So I did start it off with that other red, but this is the color I was looking for. Okay, strawberry jam, all right? Nice bright red. So once you have those, you're going to adhere your little pieces onto this base. However, you first have to fold your score lines. There are 2 here. And then you're going to fold all of your little half moon tabs. Go ahead and place your little piece here on one side. And of course, if you've seen my video for the fairy houses, then you will have seen how I put this together. But just in case you haven't seen that yet, or didn't think that you could maybe make a taco with it, then I hope that this is helpful. Don't forget to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think. Of course, there are many different ways in which you can do this. And by the way, if you've not seen my tutorial using the rainbow box from Tonic Studios, I made a larger version of this, and you may want to watch that just in case you have that kit. Okay, so once these are fully dried, just make sure you give yourself time to adhere these fully because it's going to impact the shape. Okay, to fold it over, make sure there's full contact there. Okay, then the next step is to take that tab on this long strip, place your adhesive on that. I like to fold it over and have it meet the edge right there in the center on the opposite end. So I'm just going to hold on to that for a moment. Okay, once that's nicely tacked, go ahead and fold all of your little tabs. I find that this makes it a whole lot easier. Apply adhesive on every single one of those little tabs. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Little drop will do you. Both sides. And once you have that applied, you can go ahead and close this, and the edge is going to meet quite nicely. Now, if you've got a tiny little drop of Nuvo adhesive in the wrong place, don't worry. This is going to dry clear. Just make sure you direct that arch so that it stays within the bounds of that lettuce that you added. So it's really going to match up nicely. The dies are very well designed, but that's going to give you a cute little taco. Don't forget to fray that lettuce. Make it look like, you know, someone took the effort to put that in there for you. But there's your little taco. I do hope that this has been helpful to you, and of course that you can always be inspired and be blessed. I thank you so much for watching.